I am Thor, son of Asgard, and I am here to give you my opinion of the Avengers. That was the worst impression ever. The Avengers. Okay, so I won't go too much into the plot because I'm sure you all know what the Avengers is going to be and what it's going to be like. But basically, Loki from Asgard comes down to Earth and is causing chaos, so the group of superheroes have to get together and stop him. And that's basically it. You've got Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Nick Fury, the whole lot, and they're here to stop Loki. And I don't want to say more than that, but I will say that, you know, Loki has a couple of friends of his own as well. You know, the ones you've seen from the trailer, and that giant worm that comes around the corner and makes that noise. And what I think is great about the film is the plot doesn't feel forced at all. All the characters feel like they have to be there. There's a reason for them being there. It doesn't feel like they're just being shoved there, you know, for the sake of having an Avenger. They all have their own unique caricatures and whatever, and they all get their own time to shine. And I was worried because from the trailer it looked like it was all going to be focused on Iron Man, but they were all given their own substantial amount of time to do what they want, and they all had their own little things going on. Like, it wasn't always all four Avengers going after one thing. Sometimes two would be over there, two would be over there, or even one would be doing their own thing, and they all just, you know, they all had their own goals, and they were more, what's the word, fleshed out than you'd normally expect. And you think a film with so many superheroes that, you know, it'd have problems and not every character would be given enough time to shine. But Joss Whedon does an excellent job of fleshing out every character and making sure they get all the time they deserve. It's like he manages to juggle it all at the perfect pace. I'd have done that with juggling balls, but I don't have any balls. Juggling balls! Juggling balls! There's been so many times we have giant casts and they don't all gel along, like you've had Spider-Man 3, Iron Man 2, X-Men 3, and it's not just superhero movies as well. I mean, there was a TV show over here in the UK called Being Human, and it was about a werewolf, a vampire and a ghost, and the vampire and the werewolf had a lot of time to have great character moments, and, you know, they had really good plot lines, but the ghost was just kind of left aside. And I was worried that it might turn into something like that. But it ended up with being more down the lines of X-Men First Class, which did a great job of balancing quite a few characters. I mean, it wasn't perfect at doing it, and I think Avengers does it better than X-Men First Class. I mean, the plot takes its time, and it's about a good 15 minutes before we even see the first Avenger. I mean, we've got Iron Man, played by Robert Downey Jr., and he still does a fantastic job, and it's as if he's been pulled straight from the films. You know, nothing's been compromised. We have Captain America, who's still adjusting to being in this time from coming back from World War II, and it's held in a really decent and strong way, and it's not brushed past or forgotten. And then we have Thor, and the relationship between him and Loki is established, and it's really dealt with, and it's done in a more, you know, more mature way than you probably would have imagined it being, and it's given the time it deserved, and, you know, given a more deeper meaning between the villain and the heroes, and it makes for a more emotional experience. And then finally there's Brute Banner, or the Hulk, and he's played by Mark Ruffalo, which a lot of people are having problems with because they preferred Edward Norton, but I think Mark Ruffalo really does a good job. And when he even becomes the Hulk, you can see the whole facial animations, the whole character inside him. It doesn't feel like it just changes into a whole CGI character. It actually feels more like a realistic person. And even the side characters, such as like Black Widow, Hawkeye, Nick Fury, they're all given enough time to do what they need to do, and they're actually given stuff to do in the film instead of just there for the plot or sitting at the sidelines. They all have plenty to do, and they're all given fleshed out characters as well, which is really, really something I was surprised by. Now, a problem that some audiences may find with the film, I had no problem with it because I prefer it, that it is quite chatty, and that's because it's done by Joss Whedon, and Joss Whedon has this great way of giving characters more, you know, natural dialogue, and it bounces off each other. Like, there's a lot of good dialogue between Iron Man and Captain America, and it just bounces off, and there's large sections where there's like no action at all, and it's just talking and talking, but it's never not compelling. And I actually think like the talking sections are just as good as the action sequences themselves. And with this dialogue that Joss Whedon puts across, there's a lot of comedy as well, and there's a lot of comic relief throughout the film. And then that became somewhat of a problem towards it, because towards the end it became too much of a comedy. Like, there'd be serious situations coming on, and people would be cracking jokes or doing physical things to each other for gags, and it just became a bit tedious, and in the circumstances that were happening, you wouldn't believe that that would be happening with the characters. But on the other side, from the talk, we have the action sequences as well, and they're really well directed. I mean, it mixtures between steady cam and shaky cam, and a lot of action films recently have taken the shaky cam route because they want to cop out of spending so much money on from the budget on the special effects. So doing shaky cam, it makes it seem like there's more special effects than there actually are. But with Joss Whedon, you can actually tell what's going on, and the action is seen clearly, and you can see it all smoothly, and you know exactly where the plot's going, who's doing what, and where they're going. I mean, there's this great shot towards the end with no cuts, and it's just the camera going around the city, going to each Avenger, and you can see what they're doing, and I think that's a fantastic sequence, and it demonstrates that Joss Whedon knows how to do dialogue and flesh out characters as well as action scenes. One final thing that I really liked as well, that may put some other people on the sidelines, is the fact that it acknowledged all the other films. It didn't feel like it was just bringing the characters from all the different films. It felt like it was bringing plot points from all those films, or components, and putting them in together. It felt like all the films merged in the middle, instead of just being placed there, and it felt like it smoothed in really nicely. But the thing is, it doesn't give any much backstory to what's happened in the other Avengers lead-up films, so people who've not watched them will have no idea what's going on and may lose complete interest. I don't know. But for me, who's watched them all, it was great to just see them go straight into it, not give all the backstory, and just assume that the audience has seen them. And with that final great point, I've got to come to one final bad point, and that's that I wasn't really completely sure about Loki's army and what their intentions were. I didn't realise why they were there. It felt like it was just a plot device to get loads of CGI and a big action sequence at the end. I don't know. Maybe it's just something I missed, but it just felt like that their motives weren't 100% clear and structured and given a direct path. But overall, I think Avengers succeeds with the hype and exceeds it. I mean, if we have The Dark Knight as our dark superhero film for the summer, then the Avengers is like the polar opposite, but it still does it in a mature way, and doesn't treat the audience like they're an idiot. I mean, it has great dialogue, great set pieces, great characters, great direction, and it brings across a great summer film, which we haven't seen for a long time. What, just a film where there's action going on, humour, good characters, all of it. And it's nice to see that we can still live where we can have great films like The Dark Knight, and then films like The Avengers, and they can still be just as good as each other, while being completely different at the same time. So I'm going to give The Avengers 4.5 stars out of 5. I thought it was a really enjoyable time, a really great superhero movie, probably the best Marvel one yet, and I recommend that you all see it. Now I want to know, what's your favourite Avenger? Mine personally is Thor. I mean, you saw my really rubbish, interpretation at the beginning. I am Thor! So yeah, let me know your favourite Avenger, or even your favourite Avenger movie, and just let them down there, because I'm really interested to know what all you guys think of the lead-up movies, and let me know what you think of this movie as well when you've seen it. And of course, if you like what you've seen here, just click subscribe and you can see more.
Guys, I'm bringing the party to you.